Hello, today's video is going to be resurrecting an old dinosaur. This particular one has no power, so we're going to be replacing the power supply. I'll talk to you about other things during the video regarding other possible repairs, and let's get started. First thing you need to know is there's 6 screws to open this case up. There'll be one here, 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 right here, and underneath this sticker right about there. Okay, so I'll let you see that nice and close up here in just a moment. So first thing we need to do is get our tools. We're going to need a couple of Torx drivers. Where did I just lost my... Oh, there it is. Okay. You'll need a couple of tools. A pair of tweezers is always nice to have. Spudger is always nice to have. Butter knife will work, but these are real nice. A nice little sharp pry tool works good. This is an old T8 security Torx I ground down into a scratch awl basically, and preferably you have a complete set of Torx drivers. These are the star tips. I would actually recommend buying the security Torx. They work identically the same and are multi-purpose and will work the same exact as these. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get, and this is where I use my little Sharpie tool, underneath the legs of the box. These screws here are very large. I believe these are T20, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. Turn to the left to loosen it. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. You're going to turn left. We'll remove the screw completely. Set that off to the side. Do the same with the other 4 legs. Sometimes there's going to be some little glue covering up your screw when you lift that out. Try not to pull the legs completely off, it's not necessary. And I know there's a lot of videos online for this older system and that I'm scratching the top. This is actually the box that's going to be donating parts to another system to get it alive. So I'm just going to show you basically how to disassemble it to get to its parts so that you can swap out the parts for the repair of other systems or for the repair of this system for that matter. Now normally I don't recommend home repairs because for any one symptom this box has, and it's the same with all the other game systems, for any one symptom, no matter how identical it sounds to yours, there can literally be 1,000 reasons as to why it's not working properly, or for that matter doing what yours is doing. Okay, so right about where the lightning bolt is, there's a screw there, and right about here next to this there's another screw here. Okay, no need to pull the whole thing off. Okay, so we got all 6 screws out. We'll flip the box over and then just take your thumbs on this part and hold on to the upper part of the case. This is the bottom. You're going to push up a little bit, flip that box over, and then just wiggle that top right off. Take all your screws, put it in it, set it off to the side where you won't kick it over, step on it, or break it. And now we need to get the stuff out of the inside. Don't you love the old construction of these things? All IDE, cables, and all that good stuff. Alright, so first thing we need to do in order to get to the stuff inside is to remove the IDE cables. Just grab a hold of the IDE cable, put your thumb right in the middle, and then just gently rock it back and forth, and that will unplug it. Do the same with the hard drive. Just gently rock it back and forth. See how I got a hold of it? Just gently rock it back and forth until you get a hold of it. That'll get that out of the way. You can unplug the power from the hard drive at this time if you like. Some of these, depending on the specific model, might be a little bit closer and harder to get out, but we don't need to do that at this moment. So to remove the drive, there's 2 screws in the front, and I like to remove this screw here, although it's not entirely necessary. So we need to switch from our T20 to our T10, and we'll go right in here in the upper front corner. I'll give you a nice good look at that. Right here and right here, there'll be a screw down inside there, and then we got this one right here. Okay, now don't tell me I can't see the screws in the video. Dude, if you can't see the screws in your box, you do not need to be doing this. So I mean, they're very visible. You just look down in the front corners of the drive, and this is where the tweezers come in handy. Just look in the front corner of the drive. Put that with them other ones, and you will see the screws. So just because you can't see them in the video doesn't mean that they're missing or hidden or anything. They're very visible. Okay, now at this point the drive will come out. You will need to disconnect the power, which is this yellow plug here. Okay, just grab it and as close to the port as possible, wiggle back and forth, and it will pop right out. Now this drive locks in on this side and then slides out on this side. So this is where I like to use the spudger, just to kind of separate this a little bit. Lift up, there we go, and then just kind of wiggle it, it'll come right out. Alright, now if your drive was working before your box quit working, then good for you. If you're trying to get into your system for a drive repair, then I would recommend, rather than actually trying to repair it because you really don't know anything about these drives, is just to replace the whole thing. Keep in mind, you will have to transfer the circuit board of this drive into the box in order to get it up and working right and reading the games. Although there may have been a few hacks in the past that allowed that to change, not really up on the system. I haven't looked it up or anything. We're just doing a straight up repair of the power supply, or in this case an actual replacement of the power supply. So at this point we got everything out that we need to get out in order to get to the power supply. You'll notice that this cable goes in here. We're going to very gently rock this up. I'm going to pull these out, and then this will be fairly tight in here, so I'm going to take these wires and just pull them right out of the side. Again, if you can't figure out how to pull them wires out of that little hook right there, you don't need to be doing this. Alright, now you see the dust in this system. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Wow, this power supply will not work in the other box that I have that I want to repair. Shame, shame, shame. Oh well. So I can't use this power supply. Apparently there was a slight difference in the size of the plug here. The other one that I wanted to fix is a single row, most likely a different model because I didn't pay attention. So at this point, if you need to remove the power supply, there's two screws. They're both T10, one here and one here in the corner, both very visible, and that will come right out. You'll have to unplug this and it'll come out with all the wires attached. So at this point we're just going to leave that in there, and I'll eventually go through this box and find out what's wrong with it. It could just be because it's dirty and some of that dirt inside the system is shorting out components or whatever. So, oops, let's put this back in here, right? Okay, so, well, at least you got to see a little bit of a breakdown on how to disassemble this. Unfortunately, it didn't do me any good for the repair I wanted. But it did you some good to see how to disassemble it. Okay? So, putting it back together, it's not all that hard. Install the little power cable to the disk drive. That's in. Install the IDE cable. Just line it up with the port. Once that's lined up, you can simply just give it a little bit of rocking pressure downward and it will plug in. Good. And then the same with the hard drive. Take that IDE cable, line it up, get it in place, press down, give it a little bit of a rocking motion back and forth, that'll help it, and then put your 3 screws back. Now again, you didn't have to remove this screw, but it separates this half of the plastic casing from this half, so I just do it anyway, especially if I'm getting underneath here. So we're going to go ahead and put that back. Now, unless this is magnetized, you'll have a little bit of a issue with the front ones because the screw will fall off like that. You might have to chop and stab. Just like that. And then if you have to, you can put your screw in a tweezer, put your screwdriver in it, and go in and very carefully manipulate that into its place, which is a real fun job. And you're done. Slide the power IDE cable back underneath that little tab right there, and put the top back on. So let's do that. Now, on this video, I did not clean this out. That's because this box was supposed to be a donor box. If this was a game system that was going to be repaired, you definitely want to blow that out. An air compressor works the best, as long as it's not spitting water or anything. You can use canned air, but I guarantee you, you'll go through a full can of air cleaning that out. And make your repair a little bit more expensive. An air compressor take you a whole of 30 seconds to blow it out. Once you get it opened up, I'm going to switch back to the T20 here. Let's put that in, and we'll save this box for parts later, or possibly a future repair of the disk drive video if a lot of people request it. Okay, but there's a lot of videos out there, some better than others, most worse, because they don't know what they're actually doing. But I figure this game system's really old, and there's already a million videos out there on it. I just wanted to touch on the older systems because they're tending to come back as a vintage system, and a lot more people are actually requesting that I fix theirs. Although I really don't care for these older ones. The newer ones has got a lot of good stuff. Of course, then again, there's something to be said for the retro games. Now you notice I'm turning this screwdriver back a little bit before I go in. Turn it to the left, like as if you're loosening it. You'll feel it slip into the threads, and then turn it to the right to tighten it down, and that'll prevent you from stripping out the screw because it's actually going into plastic. Okay, so at this point, this is all done. I didn't have to reapply new glue or anything because I only pulled these up a little bit, and it'll be perfectly fine even if they're still a little bit floppy. They won't come off on you, and it'll still sit nice and flat. So I gotta go see if I can find a different power supply for that person, or order one, because I really don't feel like going through all the components of that power supply for such an older system, because I'd have to charge too much. Anyway, stay safe, happy gaming everybody.